The third thing I will say to you is this, that the gospel is the only message with the power to save and to change lives. It's the only message. The only message. In fact, Romans 1:16 says this, for I, it's the same Paul who wrote 1 Thessalonians, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. There it is again. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. Why? For it is the power of God to salvation. My friends, get this. What is the power of God to salvation? The gospel, responding in faith to what Christ has done through the crucifixion and resurrection. Brother and sister, you could have 100 miracles, but if you've missed the gospel, you've missed salvation. You could be dunked in 1,000,000 baptistries, and if you've missed the gospel, you have missed salvation. You can come to 1,000,000 church services and have a lineage as long as an encyclopedia, but if you have missed the gospel, you have missed salvation today. It is the only message that saves. It's the only one. But here's the issue with us when it comes either to social media or our representation of God. Now get this, hear this, okay? I really wonder this today. If it is the power of salvation, then can we not agree that it should be the dominant message coming out of the church to the world around us? But friends, it's not. It's not. In the middle of our culture wars, in the middle of our moral battles, in the middle of our political tug-of-war, somewhere in all of the weeds of all of that, the gospel is getting choked out. And you're going to say, Nathan, well, you're soft. You won't stand up. You won't stand up for what's right. See, I've heard that for a long time. I'm going to tell you this. There are things that ail me that are happening in our culture and our world. There are things that ail me, and I have written on them, and I have spoken on them, and I've preached on them. But here's the deal, in my understanding, you can tell me I'm wrong on this, but my understanding is this, is that if I could bring the entire world to agreement with my family values, they would be just as lost in their family values as they would be in the values that they have now. That what the world needs most is the gospel of Jesus Christ. And they need to hear it from us loud and clear. We continue to try to change the world from the outside in rather than from the inside out, and it simply won't work. My friend, we are trying to clean up folks whose hearts have not been turned to God, and the only thing that can turn their hearts to God is Jesus, and Jesus is what is being lost. Nathan, you're not strong on these cultural things. You're missing it. I am strong on those things, but I am stronger on Jesus. I believe He is the image of the invisible God. I believe He is the Word of God become flesh. I believe Jesus is the only way to the Father. I believe He is the only compelling thing about our faith that could grab a hold of a heart and a mind that is lost and broken and bring them healing and hope and redirect them into relationship with God. My friend, I'm telling you today that the gospel is being drowned out in the myriad of all the conversation, and we are right where Satan wants us in that. Listen to me. He doesn't fear a cultural war. He fears the gospel. Do you hear that? He doesn't fear our morality. Listen to me. Mayberry can send you to hell just like Sodom can send you to hell. Because in Mayberry, we think to ourselves, well, I'm righteous. Look how good I am. But in Mayberry, we need Jesus just like we need Jesus in Sodom and Gomorrah. And I'm telling you today that we need to make the gospel our message. It needs to rise above. It needs to come out louder than anything else that we say. I'm not saying that we don't stand up for the rights of babies who are being aborted. It destroys my heart when I think about the evil that takes place. And when I look at where we're at with the status of marriage and all of these cultural things. But friends, our hope is not in morality. We tried morality. It was called the law. And all it could do was condemn. It could never save. It could never save. Our religion will not save, but Jesus will. Are you ready for this? Our religion will not compel a heart. But listen to me. When people see a crucified Jesus and the kind of love that God has for them, it is a compelling force that presses into their soul that they must either accept or reject. The gospel is the power unto salvation, and that changes lives.